Hey everybody, welcome back. This is episode 2 of Just Draw with Justin. Today we're going to be doing some 3D in Zbrush. We're going to be doing Haldor from Arcadia Quest. So what I do is I start off with a basic circle and I rough in a skull, digging in for the shapes of the eyes, and I put a placeholder eye. Actually, I think in this one I just used those eyes. Had some cheekbones and some definition to the jaw. Now, Haldor is a Chibi character who is going to end up being a barbarian similar to Thor. After I base in the face, I dynamesh it, then I pull from the neck, and I rough in most of the body. As you can see, I get his basic proportions down. I'm adding a teeth subtool right now. And then I add a little dots for eyes, just so I have a little bit more character to work with. I started adding in the clavicle and the pectoral muscles, just as a base shape to give me some landmarks to work from. I then go back in and start refining the face. Right now I'm adding some eyebrows. He's got some crazy eyebrows. Dig in for the ears, and I'm now going to add his mustache. I gave myself 3 hours to work on this, so his beard is not as full as I wanted it to be. There actually should be a second part to it that ties off, but giving myself only 3 hours, figured this is what I got. I then go back in, add the rest of his hair, and color that off. Now he has a winged helmet, it's very similar to Thor. I just duplicate part of his skull, clean it up a little bit, and then extrude out the main bar that goes down the center. Now I have these ridges here that I spent a little bit of time trying to clean up, and it's just not working for me. So I decide that I can dynamesh it down to get a much smoother mesh. I then clean it up that way. When I don't have nearly as many polygons to work with, it cleans up a lot easier. Add some side details, and then I add the wings by extruding parts of the side. I clean up the little hole. Now these wings were actually supposed to be a lot more detailed, however I ran out of time, so I'm glad I got what I did in. Start looking at his body and I realize he's not nearly as buff as he should be, so I widen his chest and I redefine the shapes of his muscles. This guy's a pretty buff guy, even though he's short in stature. So I go through and I try to put in landmarks for most of his muscles. Right here I'm adding his shoulder pads. Once again, learning what I did about the simplifying. I go in and Z-remesh it I have it maybe about 2 or 3 times, so I have a very low poly base I work with. I then can go through and I refine the edges, and I actually inset the sides of it, so I get the banding around the edge. Looks like my recording jumped ahead a little bit. So I then work on his bear claw, I'm not quite sure what you'd call it, bear claw neck scarf. So I just, once again, duplicate some space, wrap it around his neck, and pull out some of the claws. It has 2 jewels that go in the front. I extrude them and then remask in the center, drop them down. I refine the shoes a little bit. I'm trying to go rather fast because of my time limit, so his shoes are relatively simple, but his feet are small and you don't really see them, so I'm not terribly worried about that. He's got 2 different types of clothing, so for his pants. So I mask out the basic shape, and then I extrude out the little side cape that's on there, and that works out pretty well. I add a cylinder as a placeholder for his hammer, and then I sculpt his hands around that. Once again, it's relatively quick. He's a short, stubby guy, and he's cartoony, so he's only got 4 fingers. Clean up his teeth, give it some more detail. There you go. Clear up his ears. Add a belt to make a distinguishing line between his chest and his pants. And here I go in and base in all the different colors. Just very basic flat tones. You can actually go up to color fill to fill in whatever isn't masked in. And then go back, add in some pinks where the blood would be close to the surface. The nose, some of the muscles around his chest and his mouth. I add the dark eyeliner that's in the model. I switch over to a metallic surface and I add that to the helmet and the shoulder pads. Color in some of his eyebrows. He's got darker eyebrows. Even though they're still gray, I wanted to differentiate the color a little bit so he's not nearly as boring. Color in the bear claws and add the pattern that is on his reference photo. So it's this weird zebra-like spotted thing. Darken up some areas. He's got blue gloves on, so I'm just coloring those in real quick. And then adding some highlights with the yellow and some of the buttons that are on his knuckles. Once I get that done, I go back and refine some of the colors. And I just reshape a couple things. Then I bring it into T-Pose Master, and that gives me a simplified geometry where I can then pose it the way I want it to. He's got a relatively simple pose from when I started. I just widen his stance. I orient his legs so they're not both the same, so I'm not twinning the pose. I then move the arms so they are away from the body and punch him down so his center of gravity still feels correct. I then want to twist his head up a little bit and give it a little bit of twist just to add a little bit more personality. And I think I twist his spine a little bit. Yeah. Once I'm happy with that, I get out of T-pose mode. And then I finish it up with the hammer by just adding a simple block. I'm running out of time at this point, so I finish it up. Originally he was going to have 2, and that's the pose. So I'm quite happy with it. You can follow me on Instagram at jland_art, and you can go to my website at justinlandonline.com. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.